completely expected to be here in the qualifying match. You know, he's a huge favorite on the bottom side of the bracket.
Yeah.
KeeN, though. Did we expect KeeN to get this deep?
I guess yes and no. I mean, like, Deer is the one that met SOS, right? So for KeeN to make it there, like, sure, I don't think it's like too surprising. I mean, if you look at the brackets initially and you had to pick a couple, like, 3 players to try and make it out, I'm not sure his name necessarily would have come up as one of the main 3, but he's certainly good enough to make it there, and I think as well to give Deer a run for his money. But yeah, it's the all-important match. Whoever loses here, is going to be chilling in Katowice, probably
literally
not doing too much for a whole week now. So very important to try and advance here.
Yeah, extremely important. There is $2,000 on the line if you can get into the round of 24. Big money difference. So it's going to be pretty wonderful for either of these players to get on through. Bracket 2 still underway here. You can see a couple of the players there from Bracket 2. Showtime and Stefano helping each other out down there. But of course, our attention is on Deer and KeeN. 2 Korean players, Terran and a Protoss. A matchup that's, been a big talking point in the community. A lot of people have strong feelings one way or the other. I feel like in Korea, TVP actually can be the TVP at all. I've seen a lot of Terrans actually, especially the higher end of the Terrans, really like 3-base play. Going up to the 3rd CC. Some Terrans like your TYs actually get very, very greedy. Maru even is a player who used to proxy all the time. Remember 2018 BlizzCon, that sort of thing. He would be the guy that would always send out a proxy and rely very heavily on proxies in this matchup. But then, I've seen a couple ladder games, a couple tournament games of him against Protoss lately, and it's more like, I get a fast 3rd base.
Yeah.
I try and do a timing attack or a Widowmine drop and go into a regular sort of Bio-Liberator game, which is sort of what TVP used to look like.
Yeah, a lot of Protosses, they have finally adapted a lot better to that proxy meta, which was so scary for some time. They scout very early on, and they sacrifice minerals to do that scouting. So what better thing to do than, getting 2 command centers pretty quickly and building up your economy? It's definitely one of the good things you can do. There's
a few different options here, but let's see what KeeN goes for. And the far left here at Automaton, it is Deer. Recently picked up by Newbie. Great team. And on the far right, the Red Terran, it is KeeN.
All right, always the first big question is, are we going to see some sort of proxy out of the Terran in particular? Because they would be the one to do it. And as I just mentioned, Deer scouting from the very get-go, even before the gateway will be going up, to make sure he knows exactly everything that's happening.
Yeah, the reason why I sort of started the game by saying, what is KeeN up to? Is because generally, Terrans dictate the flow in the game. But as we're seeing, in this particular match, Deer is the one to actually get decisive and get across the map here.
Deer disagrees.
He does disagree. And I think there's going to be 2 gateway pressure, which is a very, very popular, early game aggressive build from the Protoss. It's not all in, but it is one of those things that if it doesn't go well, you're very behind.
Yeah, and KeeN not with any kind of scouting in the early game, prioritizing his own economy. Will not be able to tell that this is coming, most likely, unless he knows the exact timing on that probe and he's like, okay, no, something's up.
Now, KeeN, if he goes for the low ground CC, that's already a bit of a rough start, and it looks like he's going to. To hold something like this, a high ground bunker is very necessary. Like, this is going to be a lot of pressure, and you will not get a bunker down on that low ground in time. KeeN's CC being delayed a little bit here. He's going to put it off kilter, sort of, you can lift it and put it somewhere else.
And Pig actually talked about this in the pregame where he talked about the map. It's just a big area around the natural. So even like, where does he put the bunker? There is no ramp to really prevent that bunker from being, circumvented and run about. So if
except for the main ramp.
Yeah, if he puts it in the middle, like in the center of let's say over here, you can just run past it super easily. It's just going to be like really difficult for KeeN to handle this if Deer's execution is up to the task, and it should be here with already 2 Stalkers in the production tab, one Zealot sneaking around that first Reaper.
Deer is really bamboozling KeeN here. He's he's made the Zealot just pass to the north to avoid that Reaper. This Stalker comes down to meet the Reaper, and while it is a little early, it is not uncommon to have that Stalker here, but now KeeN's alarm bell is going to be ringing, and we're going to probably see a high ground bunker immediately here. He is in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he can even start one, because
I don't think so.
Get taken down, so he's going to try to, I guess, he starts to, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has to, because if you try and hold without one, he's just going to continue to take ship damage from these Stalkers, get that high ground vision, pick off a Marine here, an SCV there. Oh, nice work with this Reaper, though, on the other side of the map, getting some probe kills.
Yeah, and KeeN is not even cancelling the third CC. I'm a little bit surprised.
No, that's his natural remade. He cancelled the natural.
Oh.
He's remaking it in the main.
Okay, so that's a good reaction, I guess, to not let that one continue for now. Let's see if those SCVs can buy enough time. Stalkers are still fairly healthy. 2 of those have lost their shields for the most part.
KeeN at least got one of these bunkers up, but it doesn't completely cover the ramps. You can see that Deer can actually be out of range of the bunker and really nail in that barracks a bit more. The one that he really wanted to finish is the one he just salvaged, unfortunately. So Deer's going to get a depot kill here. That's going to supply block KeeN. So the last production cycle is going to be his last one until he gets another depot, but he is going to have a Cyclone shortly. He is going to have another round of Marines shortly, and that might be able to hold on here against Deer, but Deer is in the main base, and this is looking bad for KeeN.
Yeah, it was very important for him to complete the second command center, because that would have freed some supply as well for him to make some more units.
Yeah.
He's making depots all over the place, but he can't even afford these. Down to 18 supply now. Deer with a very successful rush, doing a ton of damage. Cyclone is out. And 9 SCVs have died.
Yeah, massive damage.
That is not nothing.
That is absolutely very far from nothing. Which people can say and don't have to pay me royalties, because it's just when it is nothing when I have to pay you. But as we can see, that Deer's done too much damage here. KeeN has to tap out. Really, really nice build there from Deer, and definitely caught KeeN with his pants down. Happens sometimes.
Yeah, KeeN just not quite ready. No scouting whatsoever up until the point that Reaper got across the map, but that was already so late. And it feels like Deer has done his studies. He was like, KeeN is not the kind of guy to scout early on. Let's just punish him. Let's just punish him on time. Let's make him scout in game 2.
Especially on Automaton, as we could see, it was very easy for Deer to get his gateway units to avoid the Terran scouting, and also to set up a proxy pylon and a gateway, also very easy to do because of all the space on the map that you have. And it's also a bit of a surprisingly long rush distance as well. So you have all that going for you if you want to go for something like that. And it already is bad for you as a Terran. If you don't see that Zealot, you don't see that Stalker, you don't see that gateway or anything like that with your scouting units. If you don't SCV scout, you actually it's a build order lost immediately right there.
It's really difficult for sure. I think maybe if you had a bunker closer to where it could attack, like the Stalkers on the ramp, because they were by themselves for a while before the units.
That salvage bunker, the one that he cancelled near the ramp, I actually feel like if that was up and healthy, like with some Marines inside of it, it would have been potentially a different story. The Stalkers walking past that bunker would have taken a fair bit of damage. He also would be able to cover the ramp completely, so the depots would be a little bit harder for Deer to take down.
Maybe don't even start a CC, just try to get units, because there is no nexus going up across the map. Just make sure you defend it first and then start a CC. You'll be behind economically, but at least you'll be alive. Yeah,
it's a little rough because that nexus is usually going up behind that attack eventually, and you know that you're going to be pretty far behind. But it is a tough situation, you're not wrong, Todd. In the bottom right here, currently up 1 game in the series with a very aggressive opener. This is Deer. I like this song, very epic. And in the top left here, the Red Terran, it is KeeN. Whoa, that's close to me. Whoa. Closer to KeeN than I would have liked, but you know what, I'll take it.
Opening with a gas first here on Port Alexander. Deer going for a gateway down the ramp here to block a little bit. Already sending that one probe across. There are still no scout from KeeN.
Yeah, I mean, SCV scouting usually happens if you're really, really scared before the barracks, but if you're, just a little bit scared, then partway through the barracks production.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'll just complain about Protoss.
We're going to see if Deer is going to go for, something on the other side of the map. I mean, it looks like it might be a little bit late if he wanted to do that, although his probe pathing, is he heading towards KeeN's natural? He is, okay. So it doesn't look like he's going to go proxy this game. Question here for me is Deer going to get that natural before the Cybercore? It looks like it is going to be a natural Nexus before Cybercore. Oh no, he actually decided to get it. There it is. So it's the safer opening, just in case KeeN wanted to get aggressive or do his own kind of early attack with barracks. He's going to have a Stalker out.
Back, then Deer would have been ready.
Exactly.
That had been a very aggressive build.
Exactement. So we're having a pretty regular opening. It's just Reaper fast expand against the Protoss. It's just also fast expanding.
How do you think about these kind of rushes? Like if it happened to you in a series in the next game, would you try to get the guy back with?
Well, it kind of did when I played Rotterdam in the Casters Invitational. And I don't think anything I could have come up with would get back at that guy. He's a nasty pasty, that guy.
He's stunting you. People can't see.
Rotterdam is literally doing like the, you know, I didn't want to talk. It's actually too R-rated for chat. Just off camera. He's pretty happy about beating a Diamond Terran.
The games were R-rated as well.
What a big man. All right, so we do have just a fast factory come down for KeeN because he got that gas first. He's going to get the factory as quickly as possible. Just on that 20-odd supply. And it is still it's still pretty popular for Terrans to go straight into Cyclones. But Widow Mines are kind of finding their way back into the meta as well. Like, you know, like I mentioned, players like your TYs, your Innovations still believe in the ability to just drop a couple of Widow Mines and a handful of Marines across the map to hit that probe count. Looks like just a gateway robo opening for Deer, so a very regular, old school opening. Not going to go for the Twilight Council and Blink, which a lot of Protosters like to do these days.
Yeah, I mean, Deer is just so solid in a regular game that for him to open very aggressively in game 1 and win with it, he must be going into map number 2 so confident that this time he can just play a normal game, just get some upgrades and gain some momentum and do really well from there. Like his game 2 against Hero Marine earlier was beautiful. Honestly, like everything about it was beautiful. The SimCity, the consistency with which he made probes, took the third base, and then like as soon as he gets 3 Colossi with Thermal Lance, he'll attack. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played in a similar style here. Just open Blink, Colossus, and even at the time Hero Marine was playing with a tank composition and he did like a Raven push and stuff and he was trading well. Deer still held on, he was a rock, and then he managed to get the 2-0 win, very solid.
Well, now that KeeN knows that Deer is playing a quote-unquote regular PvT, you can see, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the series, that the higher-level Korean Terrans actually have been getting a little bit greedy in this matchup. You know, that third CC for KeeN, nearly done here in the main base.
Yeah.
And it looks like Deer going up into the robotics bay here. I mean, Protosses have been loving getting this early Colossi again because of the prevalence of Terran to go for those 2 base pushes. Deer I don't think he's seen third CC yet, but this Observer certainly will.
By the way, Deer was very persistent with one of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he tried to shade like 10 times into that main. Every time KeeN was like no, but Deer does not take no for an answer. He'll get in there eventually, even if it takes a War Prism later on.
Deer's been getting a lot of damage with those War Prisms this tournament so far. And catches that Observer and takes it. Always a nice pick off to get an Observer as a Terran.
And immediately, actually, Deer, I think, did he get a second one just completing? Oh, I think he might have just cancelled it. He might have just started one and canceled it to make sure he can start Colossus. He's still got 2 more out on the map.
Yeah.
I love that one at the bottom side of the map because it sees so much. If you look at his vision, like, this is one of the key points where, like, if Medivacs flew in and he didn't see them coming, he would take a lot of damage. But because of that one Observer being down there, that's going to help a lot with that.
Or even a Liberator, you know, stuff like that Terran likes to use for early game aggression. I mean, KeeN is being super greedy. He has a double engineering bay, third base, it's getting stim and just chilling. There is actually no push on the way for KeeN here for the while. Like until there's a decent medevac count or anything like that, you really can't go across the map at the moment as Terran. Not without stim, not without tanks, not without Widow Mines.
You want to play a macro game with me?
Yeah.
How can I show you why D-Muslim get the reputation he does on Twitter?
It's been a lot of. I kind of feel bad for D-Muslim because of how bad everyone's been baiting him, but at the same time, it is really funny.
Yeah.
So
he's taking it well.
I'm on 2 sides of the fence here. So we're having a charge here from Deer. Very, very regular charge lot, Colossus splash damage sort of army. Very easy splash damage there for Colossi. If there's too many Marines, it completely melts the army of the Terran. So these Marauders still extremely important. And I like that, you know, KeeN's just patrolling here, looking for a prism. Both players are actually a little bit in the dark of what each other is doing, except Deer, with this Observer by the natural ramp, does see that KeeN has a little bit of a move out with an army. And this is the kind of move out where you're like, oh, he's getting a third base. You know, the third is being floated out here. And he'll be confirming that with the Observer shortly.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised actually that we don't see more upgrades than this yet from Deer. Usually like double forge here would be a very important part of this, but I think because he's going straight into Thermal Lens and Colossi, and you know, also you have to get some upgrade from the Twilight Council, which in this case is going to be charged. It's very hard to have the gas for everything, but yeah, there it is. The second forge, the Templar Archives, as he's going to hit that 5th and 6th gas on his third base. Very important. And Deer, if he feels confident enough to do it, he might just go. Wait, is he getting a second Templar Archive?
He is so confident he's going to get double Templar Archives.
I was going to say, if he's feeling confident enough to do it, he might just go straight for Storm here. which you need to be careful. Sometimes you do that, you get attacked before, and then you just die.
Hey, he realized that what he was doing and cancelled one of those Templar archives. Good boy. I think that the reason why the second forge was a little bit later there is that I don't think Dia knew that KeeN was going for a third base until like very recently.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't get too deep with the Observer. He didn't see all the production of the Terran. And he thought, you know, because generally you make these Colossi to shut down tank pushes and things like that as a Protoss, to shut down bio attacks on the ground. But Dia feels like, hey, you know, I've got a lot of splash damage. I have a gateway army. I can just shave into some of these spotter Marines. But I guess without a Warp Prism, doesn't really want to press the advantage.
I think, by the way, KeeN is like a very old school player. He was one of the first players to really do the multi-pronged attacks super well. On maps like Daybreak.
Oh, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah, like back then, attacking in two places at once was like unheard of. You attack with your entire army or you didn't attack. But he was one of the first Terrans that I remember in Korea to really attack the main base and the third base at the same time, and really like apply a lot of pressure on the Protoss and say like, your splits better be perfect, because if they are not in the one place that you don't have enough units at, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do damage and then you're gonna die. And a lot of the time it worked out. Now, players have gotten a lot better at splitting their units, so it's like very risky. You know, you can't do that here. Like, he would lose a lot of units and then maybe fall behind and die to a counter-attack. So he's taking his time a little more. But if he sees any opportunity, like see he's scanning right now. If he saw the entire army of Deer being there, or in this case, he sees that there is enough army being there that he can do a triple medivac drop in the main base.
Yeah, he can keep it in the dark as well and just stem on in. Oh, he's going to go for it. He's diving on in here. Deer scrambling up a defense. He actually is going to lose a lot of power, but Gateways here. And this oh man, he's depowering a forge, robotics facility, more gateways getting depowered. Lots of Vikings coming out for KeeN. He already has 2 starports for reactors. And Dia just recalls some of that splash damage to deal with this drop of KeeN. And KeeN is losing so many SCVs, that third base, Todd. The Archons, the charge lots are actually just barreling through this Terran defense. He's laying the Vikings, rolling through with that bio reinforcement. Isn't it enough to hold on?
Yeah, this depot blocks so much of this army here of charge lots and Archons. That was super well made by KeeN. I'm surprised Deer actually committed so much to this. But he did get some decent trades, killed 25 SCVs. That's a huge number there, because massive. Now it's 43 SCVs to 67 probes. KeeN's still finding another way into the main base. He went through the blind spot, by the way. There was an observer all the way down, but where he went, I think there might have been a little bit less vision. Now there is a Warp Prism there. Yeah,
he threaded the needle. This has obviously put him in a pretty bad economic state. Maybe KeeN actually had like a big SCV transfer or something, because he just seemed to lose so many SCVs so fast. Or maybe they're just, you know, tanking for him to try and get the bio reinforcements there. Either way, he's in a pretty bad economic state here. 43 SCVs on 3 bases. The Protoss got a 4th Nexus on the north. They have pretty decent saturation. 3-3 is on the way for the Protoss as well, or rather 3-2, excuse me, which is a huge upgrade lead for the Protoss as well. You know, KeeN has this armory, but as the observer is showing us, no 2-2 on the way. He can't afford it. He doesn't have the minerals, he doesn't have the gas.
Yeah, with his economy taking such a huge hit, it's hard to justify for him to stop making units here and then just start that 2-2.
Well, these ghosts are quite good against High Templar, and obviously Archons and Zealots if you can tag them. But unfortunately, Colossi are very strong against ghosts, so this is a little bit tough of an army for KeeN to try and sort of slap together a defense, and it will be taped together. It's a very, very tough composition to make work here against what Dia has.
I think KeeN has got the Colossi handled, to be honest, with the amount of Vikings that he's got. The problem is going to be this massive amount of charge loss and Archons. Like, he would need a lot of ghosts to really deal with this, unless...
That is true.
If Deer attacks and everything's clumped up and he lands perfect EMPs, then that would be ideal. But even then, if I look at both of these armies, I'm really worried for KeeN right now. And I think Deer, he smells blood in the water. +3 weapons just finished. He goes for the attack.
Yeah, great timing here from Deer. Just as +3 finishes. The Colossi are going to die very quickly to these Vikings. But the Vikings, when they land, look a little flaccid against this ground army here of Deer with that +3 attack. +2 armor kicking in shortly enough. And there is just a lot of Protoss here. Liberators getting made 3 at a time, 2 at a time, 4 at a time to try and defend. But I think that Deer is just going to be able to barrel through with sheer numbers. KeeN's doing a little bit of damage to the other side of the map, but will it be consequential? I just don't think so. I'm looking at it. GG.
The soup does not lie.
Certainly
Deer,
doesn't.
with a very convincing 2-0 here. Yet again, he will move on to the round of 24. Congratulations to him. That was very solid, I think, by him here. Really defending well. The recall, you know, it seemed like he was a little bit scary for a second, but he defended well enough back at home. And after that, knew when to go for the counter-attack as his +3 attack finished.
It was really all time from Deer, like brilliant. Brilliant timing there. Completely minced the defense of KeeN. It looked very, very one-sided in the end. KeeN had some glimmers of hope, but Deer just proving to be too strong of a player in the end. You know, he tried to make a greedy 3cc work, but just got caught again out of position against Deer's attack. Just didn't seem to see it coming, even though he had some higher, some high ground spotting Marines. But anyway, that is going to be Deer moving on from bracket 1, and we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, it's going to be an interview with Deer with Smix. See you then.